We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Bam. I may be a little bit late on this one, but CSI is back with CSI Vegas, and if you're a fan of the original series, you may want to pay attention to this review because this series kind of means business.
Every case, every defendant that was put away with evidence from our lab has been called into question. Our life's work is on the line.
You either made an error or you were a party to criminal malfeasance.
What we're really talking about is my lab's reputation. Welcome to 2021. A whole lot of careful criminals out there.
We do get the occasional moron.
What do we do now?
What we always do, Jim. Follow the evidence.
CSI was such an interesting and long-running show when it first came out, and I feel like divisive. If you were a fan of the original show, you couldn't be talked into watching any of the spin-offs, and I feel like the same goes for the other shows too. I know plenty of people that would only watch CSI Miami, for instance, but the longest-running variation of the show was indeed its original, CSI Crime Scene Investigation, which was my jam. I watched that show religiously. I mean, I played the CD-ROM games that I would rent from my local library. I read the books that came out of the show. I was invested, and that helped me get into certain things later in life, too, like my criminal justice degree. One of my favorite classes in that was criminology, for instance. But of course, the quality of the show severely diminished when the two biggest stars left, William Peterson, who played Grissom, and Georgia Fox, who played Sarah. When they left and other people started to take their place, it kind of got worse. I eventually left the show when they hired a comedian to take over as the boss of CSI, Ted freaking Danson. When he showed up, I left. I couldn't take him seriously, and apparently I was not alone because shortly after he showed up, the show was finally canceled. Since then, we haven't had CSI on air for 5-6 years now? And now it's back with CSI Vegas, bringing back those two leads that made the show work so well in the first place, Grissom and Sarah. Though some other fan favorites have shown up in the 3 episodes that have aired so far, and I'm guessing there's probably going to be more to come, but really, as long as it's Grissom and Sarah, I think the show will be pretty strong. Now, what changes things up, you might ask? Not a lot. It still feels very similar to how it felt when it first came out. I mean, it has the same theme song. Who are you? Who. I've missed that for years, and it also has a unique, maybe slightly far-fetched way of scientifically figuring out the murders, of course, and it also has an episodic formula like the previous incarnations of CSI. But what it does do differently is, even though it is episodic, it also has a seasonal arc in addition to that. So what you'll have is a mystery of the episode situation, like always, but on top of that, the reason why Grissom and Sarah are brought back specifically is because their old boss and compadre, Brass, had a killer-for-hire attempt to kill him, and the evidence seems to point to Hodges, one of their old CSIs, as the person who's responsible. So they're personally working on figuring out what happened with that throughout the season, while the rest of the CSI team does their daily murder mystery stuff. From my recollection, CSI has never really done the seasonal arc thing, so I'm absolutely invested in what's going on there. It gives the viewers a reason to watch these episodes in order, when normally it wouldn't really matter which episode you saw first. Now, I'll admit that I'm a bit more of a fanboy of CSI than most. I understand that, but I think that the first few seasons of the original show were mostly accepted by most viewers because it hadn't gotten overboard with what it was doing yet, and it was still simple. Plus, the characters were always really likable in that first show. Now, I'll admit that this show, past Grissom and Sarah, doesn't really have a ton of super likable characters yet. I think I may have to grow to love them. But as it is, it's still worth the watch, if only for the fact that this CSI version has a seasonal arc, which is a bit of a first for the show. And we always like first. We like it when they change things up just a little bit, because fans of the old show can still love it for its episodic structure, while new fans can appreciate the seasonal arc that it has going for it. I'm all in, personally, and I think that this show has taken flight. But that's easy to say for a CSI show. What about you guys, though? Were you a fan of the original CSI show? And if so, do you think that this new one compares well? Let me know, and as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with a next review. And until then, peace out!
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need.